Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. Hello, Rich. Hello. Hi, Health. Dreadlock, what's up, Dre? Oh, well, thank you, Thrive Plus Well. You're beautiful, too. Hey, Taj, welcome. Thank you for coming. Oh, today is going to be a good scope. I have really good news for you today. Today's topic is where advocacy meets activism and community economic development. So I'm just coming back from City Hall in Baltimore, where I had a meeting with the Deputy Mayor for Community Economic Development and Neighborhood Revitalization. So I had called him to request a meeting because I've been looking at the Park Heights neighborhood in Baltimore. And the Park Heights neighborhood, or the Park Heights community, is made up of 13 neighborhoods. Well, let me introduce myself, and let's start with the housekeeping first. I'm so excited. I just want to start telling you about what happened. But I want to thank everyone for joining. I want to thank you for watching the replay. And I'd like to encourage you to swipe up on your Android and share this message on Twitter, and to invite your Periscope followers to join in as well. And if you're on an iOS or an iPhone, then I'd like you to swipe to the left and share on Twitter and invite your followers to come along. I want to thank everyone for sharing, and I thank you for those hearts. And I'd like everybody to tap on that screen and share your hearts today, because that lets me know that what I'm telling you is interesting, it's resonating with you, and it is in some way helpful. And so today I want to talk to you about advocacy and activism, and there's a difference. First of all, I still haven't introduced myself. I am DeWanda Farmer, and I am a community economic development expert. I am the CED doctor. I'm a grant writer extraordinaire and nonprofit thought leader and coach. So today I had a meeting with the Deputy Mayor of Neighborhood Revitalization and Community Economic Development in the city of Baltimore. And I called the meeting with him, well, I requested a meeting and was granted a meeting with him because I wanted to talk to him about the Park Heights community. The greater Park Heights community is a Northwest Baltimore neighborhood, and it is made up of 13 neighborhoods. We have approximately 28,000 residents living in the greater Park Heights neighborhood. It is down probably by 50% of what it was just 15 years ago. And I see you, HYC Health. And you can, if you stay to the end, you'll get exactly all my contact information and how you can reach me. So the Park Heights neighborhood had a redevelopment plan that was initiated in 2006. And it was revised and updated in 2008. So here we are in 2015, and very little movement has occurred on their plan in terms of redeveloping the community, bringing new housing, or bringing along economic development projects. And so there is a community development corporation called Park Heights Renaissance, which has been charged to lead the revitalization efforts in the Park Heights neighborhood. So over the last 6 months, I've been talking to residents, nonprofits, community leaders, stakeholders, and developers who are interested in revitalization projects in the Park Heights neighborhood. And all of them pretty much have the same thoughts about the CDC that the city has charged with doing the revitalization. And I found very limited positive input. And so I went to see the executive director about 3 weeks ago, and I had a brief encounter with him where I introduced myself, and we exchanged some conversation about the future redevelopment of Park Heights. I left the meeting with not necessarily feeling like it was the most positive experience, and that the capacity of the CDC to lead, the redevelopment of, 7,200 acres of property was within his knowledge base. And he did not seem very open or receptive to the ideas that I was trying to share with him. And I really didn't know if that was because I was a female or because I was a stranger and we really didn't have a relationship. But I happen to have a relationship with some of the board members, one of whom happens to be the deputy mayor. And so I left that meeting and I immediately sent an email to the deputy mayor asking for an opportunity to sit down with him so that I could share some of the insights that I have learned by talking with people in the community. So that meeting was today. And when I got there, he brought along one of his staffers, and we had a very positive exchange for about an hour where I shared very candidly with him the concerns of community leaders and stakeholders and developers and nonprofits whom I've spoken with over the course of the last 6 months. And of course, I shared things with him that people have said to me that they're not likely to say to him for a myriad of reasons. One, he's part of city government. He's a high official. He's a European. And so the things that I said to him are probably not things that people in the general community would have been willing to say. But because of my expertise and my background and the experience that I've had in community economic development, I felt quite comfortable in sharing the criticisms with him in a very positive light. And of course, I explained to him, my understanding that, the difficulty it is in taking on community economic development in extremely disenfranchised and economically depressed communities. And so as I shared those things with him, I also talked about different tools that are available that happen to not be in the toolbox in order to do the revitalization that the city has codified in its redevelopment plan. And so one of those tools was new market tax credits. And new market tax credits are used to do community economic development projects that promote jobs. And I talked to him about ways that we could use that to revitalize certain business corridors throughout the greater Park Heights community. And so he was very receptive to that. And apparently they've been trying to encourage the Baltimore Development Corporation to attract new market tax credits for investment purposes. But they've not yet moved on that. And so me nudging him kind of led them to decide that they would try to initiate that conversation again in the hopes that they could get a little traction this time and eventually bring those resources to bear. Now, I've had the good fortune of working with New Market Tax Credit Program with the U.S. Treasury for the greater part of the last 15 years in which the program has existed. And I've had a great deal of success in helping to distribute some $37 billion to economically distressed communities across the United States. And so the next thing that I talked to him about was affordable housing and home ownership. Now, there's two community development corporations serving the greater Park Heights community that both do housing counseling. However, neither of them are certified with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, commonly known as HUD, and they are not getting access to resources that are available to those entities. And so I talked to him about that as an additional resource for the greater Park Heights neighborhood. And then we talked about a community development financial institute and the need to bring that to the Park Heights neighborhood where we could probably attract $1 million every year that we could use for small business loans, micro lending, housing loan funds, down payment assistance programs, and things of that nature. And so then I talked to him about the desire to create a mixed income community and the necessity that I believe exists for us to use the people who already consider Park Heights home to be the first home, to have the first options of home ownership as we revitalize the community. And a few reasons for that. If we revitalize this community and the home ownership opportunities only go to people outside of this community, then we have done a disservice to Park Heights community. And those people who do invest will probably quickly leave as fast as they came because they will be targets of the people who are here who have resentment because they did not have access to those resources, that the housing didn't benefit them. And I encouraged him strongly to employ people from this community in order to get that development done. And so prior to the development beginning, there's a huge need for workforce development training to ensure that people have the skills necessary to be able to successfully gain employment and to work on the rehabilitation of the Greater Park Heights community. And so he was very receptive to that as well. And then finally, they have closed the Langston Hughes Elementary School, and they are redirecting children to the Pimlico Elementary School. Now, the route to the Pimlico Elementary School is dilapidated and blighted, and it is lacking, it's not safe. It's not a safe route to school. And so I had photographs that I shared with him and discussed with him my concerns about children having to walk this route to school. And I gained a commitment from him today that before August the 31st, which will be the first day Baltimore City school children return to school, he would have the grass cut and make certain that the children do have a safe route to school. So it was a positive meeting all the way around. I talked to him about ways that I might be able to help the city to build capacity in community development corporations. And I gave him an arsenal of at least 6 tools in which he could bring multi-million dollars to the city of Baltimore to be able to affect change. And so that's the difference in advocacy. Advocacy is when you just talk to people and you just, maybe you do marching, maybe you have a phone campaign, but advocacy, that's advocacy. But activism is when you actually do something about it. So I went there. I took him photographs that showed him the conditions around the school. I told him about tools that are available for the city to do the redevelopment, and I offered my help in bringing those resources to bear in the Greater Park Heights community. And so advocacy is when you talk about it, and activism is when you be about it. And so I would encourage each and every one of you to be an activist in your community and to advocate for the best possible outcomes for the neighborhood that you live in. And that's what community economic development is about. And each and every one of us have a responsibility and a role to play in making our communities the absolute best that they could possibly be. So I'm open to taking questions if anybody has them. I'm happy to answer your questions now. Okay, so HYC Health, I don't know what your name is, but if you'll tell me, I'd like to address you by that. Okay, I see those hearts. I thank you so much for giving me those hearts. I appreciate it. That means that you're gaining knowledge and there's a value in what I'm saying to you today. So Devin, I think you wanted to know how to contact me. You can reach me at Dr. Farmer, DrFarmer, at theceddoctor.com. You can reach me on Facebook at theceddoctor, and you can reach me on Twitter at DeWanda Farmer. You can direct message me if you like. And if you go to my website, www.theceddoctor, my telephone number to reach me direct is listed on the contact page. And I'd love to hear, your ideas and how we can have greater impacts in the Baltimore community, the greater Baltimore community. Are there programs where the city will let you have abandoned properties? Actually, we have a program called Vacants to Value, in which they're not actually giving the property away, but it's probably a $5,000 to $20,000 investment in getting these properties, and we have thousands of them, Dr. Will, and they are available for both people who are interested in home ownership, also people who are developers, investors, and so there's no restrictions to owner-occupied as you might find in many other cities. So the Baltimore Vacants to Value program can be found online at vacantstovalue.com. And there's hundreds of properties and neighborhoods all over Baltimore that are available. You're absolutely welcome. How about veterans? I don't know of any specific funding or programs that are available for veterans only. However, they're certainly able to take advantage of those opportunities. And there are other monies. For example, if the developer was a veteran-owned entity, then there are other financial tools that could be used to enhance the business service that could help them to do development projects. Anybody else with a community economic development question today about advocacy or activism? Absolutely. Please reach out. Please reach out, Devon. I'd be happy to talk to you. I could talk all day about this. I absolutely could. But if there are no more questions, I'm going to close this scope out today. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me live. I'd like to thank everyone for watching the replay. Again, you can tap on the screen and let me know that this resonated with you, that the information was helpful, and just to show your support for community economic development. Again, I'm Dr. DeWanda Farmer. I am the CED doctor. I am a community economic development expert, grant writer extraordinaire, nonprofit thought leader, and coach. And I thank you. Oh, you have a question, Travel Anytime? I will wait for you to write your question. Thank you, Jason. I really feel good having walked away with a commitment. I mean, I don't have any children, but I don't want to see children not in a safe space on their way to and from school. And walking to and from school there's blocks and blocks of, just 1 second, Travel Time, I'll get to Milwaukee. With blocks and blocks of dilapidated housing, and then, that gives them a message that I'm not important, no one cares about me, I'm never going to be successful, this is my plight in life. And that's not the mindset that children should go to school ready to learn. And so if I didn't achieve anything else today, I achieved a safe route to school for hundreds of children who are going to be walking to school in 2 weeks from today. And so if it's your child, just praise God that they're going to be able to walk to school along a safe route. And there's a commitment that the demolition of those properties will come soon. Now, as far as Milwaukee, Travel Time, if I were you, I would contact the city's planning office or go to their website. There's probably a downtown development corporation. There's probably someone who is in charge of housing and neighborhood revitalization. And that's probably the place that you would like to start. Now, if you're interested in a specific community in Milwaukee, I would check the city's website under the planning department and see if there is a redevelopment plan for that specific neighborhood. And that will tell you where the targets are. And so this is just a tidbit for people who are interested in developing in communities. Before you invest your money in housing in a disadvantaged neighborhood or in a city that has, some blighted areas, is to look for redevelopment plans in those communities, because that's where the city's resources are most likely to be targeted. And so some of those tools might be available to you. And if they're not available to you, then the city's work in those environments is certainly going to enhance your investment. So it's a smart move to know what the city's plans are for the community in which you're interested. Okay, so if there's a community center that's underutilized, then you should probably look for nonprofit partners to come in and try to bring programs. Whom would we look to for those development with CDBG? The community development block grant monies are governed by the city, and usually there's an annual application process, and then the city packages the CDBG funds, programs that they'd like to fund, and then they send those to Washington for their next year's allocation. So if you're going to use community development block grant dollars, just know that you're likely a year to 18 months out of actually having the dollars physically in your accounts in order to start doing the development work. So this requires a lot of advanced planning. But it would be the city government entity that would supply those. I have all of those thoughts and ideas, but the building needs renovation. Well, if the building needs renovation and upgrades, travel time. Can you tell me your name, travel time? The building needs renovation and upgrades, then you're going to need money, Ara. And there are new market tax credits that are available. There are some entities that have new market tax credits, and they really only invest their money in community facilities. Rather, those are neighborhood health centers, charter schools, community centers, and things of that nature. So you should be looking for those entities. ERA. Okay, thank you, ERA. So yeah, you should be looking for those funding sources. And likely the new market tax credits are going to be issued by either, not likely a city entity, but most likely a bank or credit union or financial institute. Sometimes private developers also have them. So you can go to cdfifund.gov, and there is a resource where you can actually, there's a database, and you can put in Milwaukee, and you can tell everybody that has new market tax credits in that state, and so you can do that. I'm planning to talk to the Business Improvement District as well. Very good. Well, just make sure that the Business Improvement District has purview over the community. That's cdfifund, FUND.gov. Yes. And that's where you'll find who has new market tax credits in Milwaukee, in Minnesota, throughout, actually. Okay, so are there any more questions? Okay, well, I'm going to sign off for today. I thank you so very much. I appreciate everyone coming to this scope today. And if you're watching the replay, please put some hearts on the screen. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you, Devon. My phone's, when I hang up, it's going to be available. You can give me a call and let's have a talk. Okay? Thank you so much. Era. There it is. Era. Same to you. Thank you so much, and everyone, have a great day.